So we're going to go ahead and get started. Do a little bit of work here, see if we can move this leaf mold pile. I'm going to break some of the edge here. It's way below freezing right now. And one of the things I think I'll do, I'm just pushing a little bit of the leaf mold pile here, the outer crust here, to the under surface right here. So this leaf mold pile hasn't been turned since how long has it been? It's been a few months. The snow has prevented me from getting back here at all. And we had, well over 8 foot of snow. 10, 12 foot, I'm guessing, is what we got. We had over 8 foot on the building when it collapsed on February 20th. But so there's a lot of moisture in this right now. But I want to get this pile turned somewhat right now. So what I'm doing is just taking this front ledge here and creating a base for me to start piling everything on. And it has broken down pretty well, but there's still a lot of macroscopic, large pieces of material there. So typically when I'm turning these piles, one of the things I want to do is get the materials that are around the perimeter and get that put into the center of the pile, because the stuff on the inner surface usually is broken down much more than the material on the outer surfaces. So just making a little bed there to start out with. See what else I'm going to do. Just repositioning here. It's a very cold day today, and I'm not 100%. Just reaching over the far side, grabbing some of that material from the far side over there. And of course I can't see it as well because it's on the opposite side of the pile that I'm looking at. Yeah, there's a lot of moisture in this pile. And this side of the pile where I'm at right now is a spot where all winter long I'd come down here and add the compostable materials to this surface, but the deer really depended on, well, I don't know that they depended on it, but when you have this bad of snow that we had this year, it's a nice resource for the deer to be able to get at and get at some of this food, the compostable material that they can get at. So let me turn down the fan here some. We're close to going through a regen on the on this excavator here, an Elon. So those are some of that cloud that you see as I'm doing this. This is the ash from the wood stove. That tends to alkalinize the soil. So don't want that for the blueberries or the azaleas, any of those plants. Those plants really require more of an acidic soil. Yeah, so this is pretty wet. I'll probably end up turning it today and then also doing it maybe in a week, depending on how the weather is, just so we can get things a bit drier. I'm going to reposition a little bit more here. There's lots of rocks in here as well. Oh, Lord. And I'm just not feeling it today, quite honestly. Sore. Had a dull headache. I didn't sleep very well last night. But I can't complain. So yesterday I had Todd, who's been a follower of the channel for a few years at least. He came out and helped me. Really did a great job helping me clean up and move materials, all of those sorts of things, which was really, really helpful. And that was fantastic. And he drives a Tesla Model Y. So yesterday we said goodbye to Crystalline Light, which is the name that Thea gave for our Model Y, a 2020 Model Y that we bought in September of 2020. An absolutely fantastic car. Until I got the Cybertruck, that was the very best vehicle we had ever owned. And really loved that car tremendously. And I think Todd likes his Model Y as well. We didn't get into in-depth discussions, but I'm going to go someplace with this conversation in a moment. But he was also an investor in Tesla. He's not in it now, and all. And everything that I say is not certainly I don't intend any of this to be investment advice whatsoever. I'm just going to share my thoughts and feelings about things. And so Todd and I were talking in between, while we're working and all. And he mentioned that he had some reservations, and we didn't go into detail about Elon, as the whole media, and if you're following politics right now, well, it's just kind of crazy. And Elon's one of those people that you're not going to control Elon. He's always going to do what he thinks. He loves humanity. He loves America. And he's always going to do what's best to progress, to help America. Actually, he's against war, so that's one of the reasons why when Russia invaded Ukraine, of course, one of the first things they do is cut out your communications. It's the first step. One of the very first steps that you do if you're going to war is you need to disrupt their ability to communicate, so that you can you have a chance of overwhelming them with whatever force and means you want to attack. And of course, Elon stepped up and made sure that the communications that were knocked out was replaced by sending in Starlinks. So that's part of SpaceX. So Elon also owns SpaceX. He has a relatively small position, I guess, nowadays in Tesla, but he has a large position in SpaceX, which makes Starlink and all. And so he made sure that they got the Tesla power walls to power the Starlink's satellites, so they had communications, and they just wouldn't be, a 3-day war and Ukraine be totally overwhelmed by Russia. And Elon, during Flint, Michigan, with the water crisis and the lead in the water, and the politicians playing games with I guess with the possibility of people getting good access to clean water. Well, Elon made sure that he helped them out with water filters and all. He's just always stepped up. There's so many times that Elon just steps up and does what I would do if I were in a position where I had the resources and all that Elon has. And of course, nowadays the big thing is with DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, since Trump came into office, and Elon did financially support the campaign for Donald Trump to get into office. And I'll tell you, I was not at all a fan of Donald Trump. I got into some nice discussions with people who were firm believers in Donald Trump back in 2016, or 2015 or 2016, when he first announced that he was running for president. One of the first things I do is I try to do some background research and see, because he's a businessman, so he totes being a fantastic businessman, and I'm not. But I wanted to see, geez, how many lawsuits has he been involved in, whether it's other people suing him or him being sued. And it was shocking to me to see how many times he had been sued. And as a clinician, I'm always thinking, well, geez, you wouldn't want to select a doctor who's getting sued all the time. Now, it's a different thing when you're in the real estate business and all, but the way I looked at it was, boy, this is something. And I think of Donald as being a narcissist, really involved with himself. At least these are the way that I thought about things before. And I listened to the stations, and again, although I voted as an independent, I was a registered Democrat. And I still am a registered Democrat. But and I don't know how I'm going off on this side tangent because I want to get to a story. But long story short, I really wasn't a fan at all of Donald Trump. I respect anybody who can build a thriving business. I had questions about how much, he was self-made versus, family money, that sort of thing. But that's fine. I would say that based on the information that I was receiving, and I had limited information, I really didn't spend a lot of time following Donald Trump. I thought that there were better options, and I voted third party, is what I did previously. And we move up closer to this election. I saw, and I have a great deal of respect for Elon Musk, tremendous respect for him. I think of him as not just being a genius. I see him as being a workaholic, and instead of taking all the money that he makes and spending on islands and yachts and young ladies in bikinis and that sort of thing, the way many very, very wealthy people do, not a playboy, that sort of thing. He's driven by his missions. And I know many people aren't going to believe that, but based on my analysis, those are the things that I believe. And I'm always open to changing my opinion based on evidence. So I always want to have actual evidence before I'm going to change my opinion on things. Data is what's really important. Actual data, not hearsay, not ad hominem attacks, not all the logical fallacies. And I've talked about critical thinking and the logical fallacies. I've written articles about those topics in the past. Really important to be aware of the the attacks that are occurring at this point in time with Elon. And of course, we're Tesla owners and Tesla investors, and you know, one of the things I would say is that it's turned into I don't know, a crazy situation where there's so much hate for individual owners that hate Tesla. And they don't have a good reason for hating Tesla. You know, they're going to follow the statements that people make, and you know, like even the late night shows, comedy shows. You know, people are cheering when they hear about the domestic terrorists that are setting fire to Teslas. And of course, Teslas are the most American-made vehicle. They're energy efficient. They're more environmentally friendly vehicles. They're the safest vehicles that are made. The Tesla Model Y is the best-selling car in America. The Cybertruck this last year was the best-selling electric truck, not all trucks, in the United States. And you know, and fortunately, there are many, many thousands of Americans that work at these Tesla factories. And there are many, many 401ks of people who just basically follow. They work for a company, and the company comes in once a year or whatever, and they have a representative from BlackRock or whatever financial institution it is. They come in and they help people pick out their packages, and many of them have their money in these various different investment funds, many of which are like the S&P 500. And then you have people like Tim Walz, you know, the Democrat vice president candidate, you know, cheering about how Tesla's stock price is going down, and that's hurting so many Americans. And it just seems, petty is the first thing I would say, and dumb. It just seems absolutely dumb to me. So when I got up this morning, you know, and I think it's all stems from, you know, the misinformation that's being disseminated and the organized efforts by non-government agencies, which our political dollars, our tax dollars are being spent on, and to fund some of these organizations that are actually doing these terrorist acts, and not that the organization is overtly saying, oh, go do these terrorist acts. I don't know. But I think that it's people are getting all wound up in believing that, well, Elon's a Nazi, Trump's a Nazi, they're the oligarchs that are running the country and all. And it's, you know, the ability for people to stop and think critically on their own. They haven't been trained to think critically and to analyze the situation. That's it's so disappointing that we're in that state here in our country where the citizens, as displayed in many of the displays, and I'm not saying everyone, but certainly there's enough people that believe in these foolish statements that politicians are making, like, for instance, that Doge or Elon is going to strip the Medicare or Medicaid or veterans benefits. All of these things have been said by the various politicians, and there's actually no data whatsoever to support those accusations. And so when I got up this morning, I started to write an article. I'll have to finish it, and the article is about using what we use in medicine all the time as soaping. So soaping is an acronym, has nothing to do with cleanliness. It's an acronym that describes the approach: subjective, objective, assessment, and then plan. And so, like, there's plenty of subjective evidence that there's waste, fraud, and abuse in our government spending. We didn't get so many trillions of dollars in debt by spending money wisely. And there's a lot of people who've gotten very wealthy, and they help to fund politicians because that's how they keep people from really doing further investigation and all. But let's just say subjectively there is waste, fraud, and abuse. And if you don't realize that, just go back to 2010 and listen to Barack Obama or Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer talk about the waste, fraud, and abuse. And basically, like what Nancy Pelosi said, we need to cut out the waste, fraud, and abuse, and not cut so that it will preserve the benefits for the Social Security recipients that are good, that are people that deserve it, that are retired or that are disabled, that those resources are preserved for those individuals. And the same thing with Medicare, Medicaid. It's all about doing the best that you can to get the resources that we paid for in tax dollars out of the hands of people who are foolishly wasting the money or unknowingly wasting the money because their computer systems are outdated and all. There's obvious fraud, but there's lots of negligence, I would say, and waste based on, hey, you know what, I'll go work for this company after I leave the military, and I'll get a good salary later on. So there's reasons why people would knowingly waste money on pencil sharpeners, coffee cups, coffee mug heaters, and all. And so you can always go to doge.gov, so doge.gov, to see the information that the Department of Government Efficiency is actually trying to be very transparent and disseminate. Now there's going to be errors in that, but they correct it shortly thereafter as soon as they find out. So, let me move here. So the whole analogy that I'm making with medicine is using a soaping system. So in other words, realizing that there is waste. So subjectively, Chuck Schumer, Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, many politicians on both party lines have clearly stated there is waste, there is fraud, there is abuse. And even back in 2010, I remember the Democrats stating how they were going to go ahead and use the committees to go ahead and wipe out. They didn't give any details. They didn't have something like Doge, but they said that they were committed to doing it, and nothing happened. And so we've got that covered. It's like a patient coming in and saying, geez, my dog's vomiting like crazy. He's getting weaker. He's not able to keep anything down. He's getting thinner and all. And as a result of that, I'm here to see the specialist. So that was me, the internal medicine specialist. And I would ask lots of detailed questions because there were times that the patient was actually regurgitating and not vomiting. So regurgitation is really talking about the most upper GI tract, the esophagus and all. And I've had patients that have had strictures where the esophagus was pinched off going to the stomach, and if I had just taken that subjective information, what everybody says, I would have done diagnostic tests, doing abdominal ultrasound, maybe abdominal radiographs, doing blood work, all of those sorts of things, or doing, any other tests, So just taking that subjective information is not good enough. And we would say that the chief complaint, what is going on? My dog's vomiting. Well, what's the history? When did it begin? And all this. And so we'd really get as much subjective information as possible based on that, what the client is telling us or the patient's telling us. Then we start compiling objective information. That's measurements, absolute data. It could be the physical examination. It could be imaging studies. It could be doing endoscopy. It could be doing various blood work tests and all. And that's given us data back. Now, getting the data back, there can be errors in it because I don't want to go into too much detail in medicine, but you can have a false positive or a false negative in any test based on the sensitivity and the specificity of the test. So that objective data, compiling the objective data, going in and getting the data is the next step. The third step is assessing it. And that's where the clinician takes that subjective data and that objective data and analyzes all of that information together and comes up with an assessment saying, I believe that this is what's happening, which may lead to further testing or maybe a consultation with another specialist. It could be any number of things. But that assessment step is the next part. And then there's the whole plan that comes after that. And that's where I would sit down with the client and say, here's what we've got. Based on the information you provided, based on the medical record from your regular veterinarian, based on the imaging studies, the lab work, all of the tests that we've done, these are the possibilities. It's an 80% chance that it's this. There's a 5% chance that it's this, and there's a 15% chance that it's something else. And here's the cost to doing further diagnostic tests or doing treatment or doing your best guess from that point. So that's where the plan is actually developed, and the client decides which avenue they want to go from there. And sometimes, unfortunately, means that the patient isn't going to achieve good quality of life. And I'm talking about, it might be a severe form of advanced cancer that's going to require prolonged hospitalization, and there's a minimal chance that they're going to get out of the hospital and have any good quality of life. So it's about informed consent, and it's about being able to share all that information from all of the subjective and objective and the analysis phase, and presenting that to the patient. So I've started writing an article about this, comparing this to what DOJ does. Well, we've known, Barack Obama said it, Ronald Reagan's talking about the waste. All these different politicians have talked about waste, fraud, and abuse in government spending for many years, but no one's really tackled it, and we're at a critical point with our with the debt that we have. So many trillions of dollars is just crazy. So when I use the analogy of soaping what Elon Musk is doing, well, we know the subjective stuff. We've all known that for years. What Elon is doing, he's doing the diagnostic tests and getting the data. In other words, going in, looking at the files, putting that all together in spreadsheets, or downloading it for the next level, which is the assessment for President Trump, for various other government agencies, whether it's the Pentagon, all the different agencies, looking at all of the information that's coming out and extracted. And again, it's like a lab test. It's like a radiograph report that the radiologist interpreted things one way. And there can be errors because it can look like there's something inside, inside of the abdomen that's superimposed, twisted by the positioning of the patient. So that data that's being compiled by Doge, these young people and Elon Musk, they're going in and they're looking for and saying, hey, this is a red flag, this is a red flag, we got this data, all of these people can't be alive at this point. We're not saying that they all got paid that amount of money, but this is a potential. Further testing needs to be done. And that's where the assessment comes about, and that's where Congress comes in as well. The legislative bodies need to look at all this data, but the legislators, many of the legislators, are attacking Doge right now because they don't want that test to show the results. And all they have to do is they can look at all that data and present that. And the thing I like about what Doge is doing, they're sharing that. It's transparency. We can all see the data. Elon Musk and Donald Trump and no one at Doge has said they want to cut Medicare, they want to cut Social Security, they want to cut veteran services. They want to cut the waste. They want to identify fraud and abuse. And they're not going to be 100%. This is like the first big attack. But if we can knock down $2 trillion from our spending, and that keeps going out, that's been going out for years, and going out to people who are just getting wealthy, who are in different countries, or middlemen, and their resources aren't actually getting to the people that we actually wanted to support, well, that's kind of crazy. So that's what the article that I'll post. I'll probably post it later on today or tomorrow morning, and it'll be about using the subjective, objective, assessment or analysis, and then the planning part is all done. The assessment and planning is all done after Doge. Doge is just gathering the data. It's sending out the blood work. It's going and getting the radiographs. It's getting the MRI. It's getting the CT. And they're saying, oh, we have this. This is a red flag. This doesn't look good. This might be waste. This might be abuse. And therefore, here it is for you to investigate further, decide what to do about it. So I'm basically 100, even though I'm a Tesla investor and we have Tesla vehicles that we absolutely love. Trying to turn the heat down in here. And we've had people flipping us off. I had to go to Home Depot to pick up some straps, some come-along straps to hold back the wall. Twice in that time, just the one road trip, people were flipping me off because it's a Cybertruck. They could see it. And then after that, we had to drop off the license plates so we could cancel the insurance on the Model Y. We went over to the Department of Motor Vehicle, and two young people, I could see them coming off the road, and we were parked at the Department of Motor Vehicles, and they were coming up, and I was laying back. Thea was inside of the Department of Motor Vehicle, and I was laid back there, and instead of turning to go into any building, they were coming to the Cybertruck. Now, I'm used to that because some people are really interested in and want to see this Cybertruck, so I'm used to that. And they got right up alongside of me. As soon as they saw me, they went, oh, and they ran away. I can't say for certain that they were going to key the truck or whatever, but it was unlike any of the other people that I've had come up to the truck in the past. So there is this whole craziness that's going on right now where people, I'm just shocked that so many people are so emotional and so caught up in this, and this hyperbole just has to settle down. You know, we should all be able to have a discussion and agree to disagree about things. It's just crazy. So anyways, that's my rant for today, and I will post an article comparing the SOAP methods that we use in veterinary medicine and human medicine to the potential benefits of using that stepwise approach to looking at what's going on with our government spending. So I think that's about it. So if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. Please be respectful. That's all I ask. So that's it for today's video, folks. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe and take care. Bye-bye now.